This podcast is for educational purposes only. Options Geek LLC is not a broker dealer. Options Geek LLC and Felix Fry are not registered investment advisors. Options involve substantial risk and are not suitable for everyone. Please consult your own investment advisor before doing any trading. Make sure you read the full disclaimer at the end of this episode. The news coming out of China today with Apple is starting to shift a lot of the pieces around the table in different sectors. Today, we're going to look at Taiwan Semiconductor, TSM. So we start at the homepage again. Today is September 7th. We want 100 results. We're going to take out spreads and just want greater than 2 weeks. We're also going to look at the offers. And right up the top, we see BABA 70 puts, which is interesting with the stock at 90 for December. Obviously, the China news is affecting many different areas, many different sectors. The news was that the Chinese was asking employees not to bring their iPhones into government property. So they're banning iPhones. Does it extend to the retail user there? There's a lot of speculation, and that would be a bad thing for Apple. So you're starting to see Apple put buying as well. Tesla, we saw those calls yesterday. There's more of those 300 calls today. One thing I look at when I'm thinking about China and the Far East is Taiwan Semi. So we're going to take a look at Taiwan Semi just by clicking up here first. And I had seen this earlier in the morning. It was a spread. And so I wanted to bring this up here because Taiwan Semi is cheap stock. If you're just looking at face value, they're a big supplier to Nvidia. So people think that that's a positive, but the stock is languishing here. It's actually breaking down. Warren Buffett got into the name, and then a quarter later, a few months later, he gets out of the name. And we're seeing put spread buyers in October. And when I come down here, I see these 12,000, October 70, 65 put spreads for small value here, 24 cents versus 13 cents. So 11 cents for a $5 put spread, just in case things collapse, is really what this is saying. And he also did the November 65 60s. That was for 11 cents. So it looks like they came in to buy 2 months, October and November. The 70 puts they were buying, 65 puts in October they were selling. And then in November, they went a little bit lower to get 11 cents. It looks like they were targeting 11 cents as what they wanted to pay, 65s and the 60s. Now, we'll look at Taiwan Semi chart, and this is obviously a big level right around here. You could see that Buffett got into Taiwan Semi around here, eventually blew out of it somewhere around here. It did go make another high here. So it's been trading well. You're seeing these highs. You're seeing the higher lows. But this is a little bit troubling if it breaks here and starts going this way. Again, people think this stock is valued up here. It should be in the 120 to 140 range is what people think it should be. The issue is whether or not Taiwan Semi looks the same in 5 years as it does today. So one thing I would bring up is that we're seeing other activity, a lot of activity today and last week in Intel. And Intel is catching a bid since last week when the CEO spoke. So the CEO speaks, he's pretty excited about his business and the trajectory of where Intel is going. And why not? He has the U.S. government behind him that is going to reduce his cost structure so that he could build factories here in the United States and win all the designs going forward against Taiwan Semi. So Taiwan Semi might be the next coal company where 5 years from now, it's going to be a lot different because Intel is going to win all the designs and a lot of the business is going to flow back to the United States. Why? Because the United States is going to tell every corporation that they have to do business with Intel. Why would they do that? Because they're the ones that are investing in Intel's factories. So they need people and they need business to come towards Intel. Plain and simple. They're investing and they're going to force people to come back onshore. So this movement will take time, but we're talking about maybe another 18 to 24 months where we'll really start seeing design wins and the future of where Intel will be. The CEO again spoke last Thursday. It's important that you read that. If you're interested in semis, it's important that you read that. He not only talks about building these foundries and taking business from Taiwan Semi, he talks about his competitive advantage with Taiwan Semi. Taiwan Semi is only competing in price, whereas he has other products. Intel is going to be able to sell other products on top of just price. And that customization will be an added benefit. And once he wins those designs, Taiwan Semi will have a tough time coming back and taking those clients. One, because these designs are, once they win a design, Intel will capture that business for years. And then on top of that, customize, which will then make it much more difficult for someone else to come back unless Taiwan Semi could actually beat Intel in these other customizable products. The Intel CEO doesn't think he could do that. So step one is to build the factories, the foundries, and then win the designs. And if they win those designs, then Intel will lean on their competitive advantage in other areas besides just making the widgets to sell. So it's interesting how he positioned it. He also said something, I'll let you go read it's the Deutsche Bank Technology Conference transcript. You should go read it. He also talks about the next battleground. He concedes the data centers to NVIDIA, and he's now saying, hey, listen, we're going to get some crumbs in the data center. Look, AMD and NVIDIA basically have that covered. We're going to be someplace else. And he tells you where he thinks the next battleground is for the stock. And I think it's very interesting. And the way the stock is acting, I think the big money has found a lot of interest in it right now. They have an event in 2 weeks, Intel does, and they should be showcasing more products. That's Intel. Intel is very positive today, and we're seeing flow. These are big levels here at the 40 level. There's been buyers of Intel all the way down, and now we're seeing a lot more options flow up here. But Taiwan Semi is a name that, again, it's cheap. It's cheap for a reason, because maybe it's the new coal stock in the semiconductors. And, yeah, it's probably worth here if everything was going to stay the same, maybe even higher. And Buffett was buying it huge down here. But if it's a coal stock, it's going to be trading down here in the 50s, 60s if their business is going to shrink dramatically over time. So that's Taiwan Semi, something to take a look at. There has been call buyers. The stock is trading okay. This is a normal pullback back into the 90 range. However, it's something to consider whether or not the money is starting to move towards the next 3 years. NVIDIA is obviously one, but then maybe it's AMD and it's Intel, and it's a little bit more geared towards the United States semiconductors. That's Taiwan Semi. I thought the Chinese news with Apple is having ramifications with other sectors, including the semiconductors. We're seeing Neo call selling here today. Looks like people just blowing out of calls. They've had enough with the trying to catch the wave in Neo. So it's very interesting. We're starting to see a lot of these Chinese stocks for sale. I think that the Chinese tech names should only be used with options really over the next 18 months, because either they're going to crash or they're going to crash up. These things are so cheap. If China and the US could somehow come to some agreement, then, over 18 months, these Chinese names they're so cheap that they should get some of that valuation back. If not, and we're going to escalate here with sanctions, then these stocks might be in trouble. Anyways, Taiwan Semi, put buying here. They're cheapies. It's someone who's very long, and I think they're just trying to protect that long here because they might be too long. There you go. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Make sure you smash that like button, ask questions, comment. Thanks again.